Joe Duffy, CEO of OffshoreInsiders.com. On this video, we're going to revisit something that we talked about maybe 10 years ago on our YouTube channel, and that is the pros and cons of contrarian betting and why it has made a big comeback after it was kind of stagnant for a little while. Please make sure you subscribe to my channel, hit the like button. I've got so many topics I can discuss with you, and if you give me a bunch of likes, that's your way of saying you want more videos on topics that have to do with sports betting strategy. But in the comments section, tell me what you want. Do you want more free picks? Do you want more videos that discuss general strategies? What do you want? In fact, we can do all the above, but especially give me likes. That helps me get even more exposure. And the more exposure I get, the more motivation I have to do more and more videos. And make sure you subscribe to me. You follow me at Offshore Insider on X and other socials. But again, because of the character limitations, it's at Offshore Insider on X, but my website is offshoreinsiders.com. Now, what is contrarian betting? It's basically just that, going against the public. Now, why does it work? Or does it work? Yes, it does. Why? Remember, the very basic rule of a point spread is not a prediction on the outcome of a sporting event. A point spread is essentially the prediction on what the line has to be to get equal money on each side. And the odds makers they must adjust to public biases. And the public, they will still buy it hook, line, and sinker. So when you're going against the public, you're basically fading these over-adjusted lines where there's overlays and whatnot. And look, the bottom line is, if the public won, we wouldn't have all these sports books. We wouldn't have all these casinos. You wouldn't see all these sports books advertising now on national TV that more than half of the states have legalized it. There's a reason they're spending a lot of money, because the public almost always loses, and that is just simply a fact. And fading them is a good thing. Now, there are so many websites out there where you can get public information, public betting information. We use Odds Logic, Action Network, Sportsline, Pregame is okay, Covers, and several others out there. We most definitely like to see it balanced and corroborated for quite a few reasons. Well, corroboration, the reason you want that is pretty obvious. It's like virtually anything in life, you would like to have it verified by several different sources. But also because you could see the public betting can be a little bit distorted from early betting that comes out from sports books that have lines that are a little bit off, but very low limits. So that's why we like to have it corroborated by a bunch of different sources. If they're conflicting, we're not going to use it and put that in the contrarian column. Now, even more importantly, we go by the number of bets, not the amount of money. The number of tickets, or the percentage of tickets, actually. And why is that important? Yeah, the guy that we want to fade is actually the very small player. The $5 player, the $10 player. He is the greatest source of contrarian stuff. So when it comes to the number of bets, obviously, a $5 bet will count the same as 5,000, as I always say. That's the polar opposite when it comes to doing the money. Now, I've heard different trains of thoughts on the money. I heard one guy who actually said he always likes to fade the money. Why? Because he wants to be rooting for the same sides as the sports books are. And that's makes total sense. But then there's other people who believe the sharp plays are when you weigh the money against the side. So in other words, if there's 80% of the side is on, 80% of the tickets are on one side and 60% of the money is on the other side, people like to follow the money. When they say basically bet the money against the number of tickets. I'm not a fan of either one of those. I just like to fade the number of tickets, period. And it kind of gets back to what when I was working on the score phones, there was a guy by the name of Chuck Franklin, and he worked on the other side of the window. He worked in Las Vegas, and he said his most accurate way of handicapping was somebody would come up to the window and say, this line is absolutely ridiculous. You're just giving money away. It's an absurd line. And then the guy would pull out a $20 bill or a $10 bill and then bet on it. And the guy, his real name was Bill, actually, but he went by Chuck, and he said, I used to go down the strip, because you couldn't bet at your own sports book, it's a Vegas law. He would bet the other side at a different casino, and he said that was the most winning strategy he ever had. And I've even heard other stories about bookmakers, big-time bookmakers, who would like to take small action just because they wanted to get the consensus of the Joey Bag of Donuts and bet the other side. So yes, very emphatically, and this is not anecdotal. Those stories are anecdotal. Based on my experience in studying this for literally, I don't know, 16, 17 years, the contrarian information has been widely available. There's no question. Definitely go against the percentage of tickets, not their percentage of money. Now, why is contrarian betting making a comeback? Those of you who have been winning with me for years and years at offshoreinsiders.com, you might remember, I guess around like 2000 and the early 2000s, maybe the mid 2000, like 2005, 2006, started to weigh contrarian information a little bit less because thanks to technology, the public was getting a little bit better and fading their bets weren't quite as good. But now because of the legalization, contrarian information is even better than ever. Well, in part because it's more widely available. Thus, my corroboration thing is the contrarian information is thus going to be even more accurate when you're doing all the corroboration like I am, using multiple sites to ensure that a public play is verified by all the sites I mentioned. We're talking Vegas, offshore, now the various other states in the U.S., and I even do have a pretty good source for some outlaw stuff, and it all has to be pointing in that same direction. But number two, another reason contrarian betting is stronger than ever is because of the legalization, you've got a bunch of influencers who really know nothing about gambling. They might know something about sports. They might look good on YouTube, and they might be good broadcasters, and they're young, but they don't know sports, and they're influencing people. Look, these sports books are advertising at any all-sports station that'll take their ads, and they tell their talk show hosts, look, you got to give picks against the spread. And their talk show hosts, they might know stuff about sports, but they don't know how gambling works, and there is a big difference. So there's a lot more uneducated people who are influencing where the public bets, so that is great for contrarian information. And I kind of tell the story all the time. A very common thing, probably the most common thing that I hear from squares when you watch YouTube or you listen to a sports talk show, they'll say something along the lines of, I saw them play last week and they just couldn't stop the run. Now they're playing a much better running team. I don't see how they don't get blown out. It's the recency bias, and it's because they actually watched them and witnessed themselves. Sorry, I apologize to my professor, logic and language professor from way back in the 80s. I can't remember which logical fallacy the latter one is, a recency bias and anecdotal. I think it's actually called the anecdotal bias or whatever. But there are so many people out there who are influencing people's bets. They're not professional handicappers like Joe Duffy at offshoreinsiders.com, and that's one of the reasons why contrarian betting has become bigger than ever. Now, it doesn't weigh ahead of all the other metrics I use. I would put it, I don't really have a list of how I weigh my metrics, but there's quite a few things that I put ahead of that, such as my computer programs, which are beyond incredible, and we've said reasons why we've been weighing the luck factor a little bit more. That's not quite second, and I like to use my outsource picks where I respect the opinions of people who are much stronger in what I like to call organic handicapping. So contrarian is just part of it. Oh yeah, and also one of the most important facts, when contrarian information is the strongest? When the public likes an underdog. Public dogs die. So it's not based on mere percentages by any stretch of the imagination. For example, 56% of the public betting on an underdog, say plus 7, or 56% plus 7, is much stronger to me than, say, 70% minus 7. Public dogs absolutely, positively do die. So yes, contrarian information works, but you got to know how to use it. You know who knows how to use it? Joe Duffy of offshoreinsiders.com. Please like this video and stay tuned. More great strategy videos coming up right there on your screen.